Support us by subscribing, ring the notification bell, press all, and thumbs up. Thank you.
So other than the culture of broad understanding amongst your teams and the culture of don't worry too much about offending people on other teams, to make those difficult kind of discussions, to not travel risk downstream and identify issues early. Are there other aspects, especially in growing your small businesses into large businesses, that have been really important from a culture perspective for either you and your leadership team or for your entire workforce?
I can't say I'm not sure I really view myself as some great expert on leadership, to be frank. I mean, I think we're doing okay, but we just seem to make a lot of mistakes, just from what I can see. I try to use the tools of physics as much as possible. When I was growing up, I was actually thinking I was have a career in physics at a Collider or something like that.
Okay.
I don't think I'd be doing this, to be totally frank.
Well, coming from a culture that values leadership, my position is that you don't achieve results, and certainly you have achieved results unless you have that kind of leadership skill. So don't sell yourself short, is what I'm saying.
That's true. There's plenty of others doing that.
All right. So with that, go ahead.
I was just say, so one of the things in physics is you should always assume that you're some degree wrong, and your goal is to be less wrong. This is a very important frame of mind. People tend to assume that they're right, and they must prove that they're right. You're definitely wrong to some degree. The question is, how wrong, and can you be less wrong tomorrow? This is a very important principle. Okay,
so instead of leadership lessons from Abraham Lincoln or somebody else, leadership lessons from the world of physics.
Yes, the thought constructs of physics can be applied broadly. They're right there. They're amazing. We've figured out all these counterintuitive things like quantum mechanics and general relativity. So these are great tools. You can just read about them and use them. Great.
Okay. All right. We'll have a textbook sale later after our session, or for those of you who are in the audience right now, just hit Khan Academy up. Lots of good stuff on there on physics. Okay, so Elon, let's move on a little bit to work-life balance. Do you have a deliberate approach to how you balance your work and the rest of your life? Or do you just kind of have a sense of, hey, I am focusing way too much on work right now, I need a break, or I need to go do something different?
Well, I think, everyone's got their own point of view on this, but it's obviously a life decision. In my case, I actually want to get the most amount done possible, but if you don't take some breaks, then your sort of amount that you get done is less. So the reason I would take breaks is in order to get more done, basically. That's not everyone's decision, though. But I have to, as a friend of mine was actually, I was talking to this friend of mine this weekend, and he said, when's the last time you had a vacation where you didn't do work for a week? And I was like, well, maybe like year 2000, when I had malaria. I was stuck in the hospital and didn't have the internet. So maybe I should take another break, Yeah. But I think it's probably, I would not recommend running two companies. This does not make for the most fun, I have to say.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. So about a year ago, you and I had a conversation on a Saturday morning And the thing that I remember from the Saturday morning telephone conversation was we spent about the first 15 or 20 minutes talking about the workouts that we had just had on that Saturday morning. Would you care to tell the audience a little bit about how you stay in shape?
Oh, I don't think I'm in great shape, to be honest. But you mean like physically?
Yeah, physically. the mentally in shape question is next.
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't think I'm in super great shape, but I basically just like lift weights and run on a treadmill, and that's like the one time that I really watch television is like running for 15 or 20 minutes on a treadmill. And that's it.
Okay. Well, along those lines, what are you watching on television when you're running?
I just finished watching Space Jam. It's pretty good. Okay.
All right. I think we have a request for a Space Jam soundtrack later this afternoon. Okay, gotcha. How about, I know you're a huge reader, but from a lifelong learning perspective, constantly trying to add to your toolkit so that you're, a better leader, a better CEO. Are there recommendations that you have for the audience about those kinds of things that you do to keep yourself mentally sharp?
Well, I read a lot less these days than I used to. When I was a kid, I just read all the time. I mean, I mostly subscribe to scientific periodicals, like the daily news I find to be a lot of noise and just very negative. So I generally try to not read the daily news that much. Because generally newspapers seem to be trying to answer the question, what is the worst thing that happened on Earth today? It's big, okay? There's a lot of people. Something terrible happened every single day, guaranteed. It's just big plan. Also, something great happened, but they don't answer that question. So the daily news just tends to make one miserable, but I think like the science and technology periodicals are quite interesting, and usually, if there's some new discovery, it'll be in there. I find Twitter enlightening at times. You learn a bit there, and talking to smart people all the time is very helpful. Because that can be a distillation of interesting things that are going on. Certainly like try to ask people like for the car, like, what are we doing wrong? What can we fix? What can we make it better? And they usually just want to tell me, oh, it's great, I love it. I'm like, but sure, I understand, but what's wrong with it? And like, what can we make better? This is this theory of like, how do we be less wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like they always want to tell me the good stuff. I'm like, that's cool, but tell me the bad stuff. That's very important.
Okay.
Yeah, even small bad things that we can make better.
Okay, so we have a similar culture in Air Force Acquisition, talking to our operators about, well, that's great that you love it, but tell us what part don't you like, right? Yeah. So this domain, the space domain, this ecosystem that's represented today, one of the challenges that it faces every day, and would face every day even if the STEM production system across the United States or across the free world was perfect, is a strategic competition for talent. Are there techniques that, as you grow from a small business to a large business, that you need to change in terms of how you reach out and find that talent in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like the things that, if you want to get great engineering talent, then the work itself has to be exciting. The best engineers want to work on the most innovative things, and then as you add great engineers to the company, they will in turn recruit other great engineers, talents of all kinds. So. It's very important that that the thing they're working on is intrinsically interesting. and generally that is a high energy environment. If the work is intrinsically interesting and they're making progress, then you just sort of attract more and more great engineers. When you stop doing really interesting things, then they leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's pretty straightforward. You also want to make sure you've got a recruiting function that is very good, and that if somebody great wants to join the company, that they actually get an interview. But this is actually one of my big worries, is like if Nikola Tesla was alive today, could he get an interview? And if not, we're doing something wrong. And like, I'm not totally sure he would get an interview. and we're like, so if one of the most brilliant engineers that ever lived could maybe not get an interview, we should fix that and make sure we're not like barring the doors from talent. Or that we're looking at the right things. Like generally, I look for things that are like evidence of exceptional ability. Like, I don't care if somebody graduated from college or high school or whatever. What evidence of exceptional ability? Just give me 3 bullet points, evidence of exceptional ability. Graduating from college is not, that's okay.
Yeah.
But, did they build some really impressive device, win some really tough competition, come up with some great idea, solve some really tough problem? It's like, what did they do that just was like clear evidence of exceptional ability? It's not necessarily a 4.0 GPA. That's considered to be a contraindicator. Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. All right. Clear evidence of exceptional ability. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So Elon, I want to give you the last minute or so for Elon to be Elon, right?
Okay.
So you have here with us is Air Force Space Pitch Day. You have in the audience small businesses developing new and innovative capabilities for the space domain. You have Air Force Space Command operators, Air Force Space acquisition folks. You have congressional staffers. You have some media. You've got experts in the Valley in the audience. What is the one thing or 2 things that you want to tell them all about Air Force Space Pitch Day and how it is to be successfully growing a small business to a large business?
Okay, well, I mean, to be frank, I don't think it's intrinsically good to grow a small business to a large business. Sometimes a small business should be a small business. Sometimes businesses shouldn't exist. Sure, it's true. So and business, like a company, is a group of people collected together for a purpose, which is to create a compelling product or service. And if that product or service is not compelling, the company shouldn't exist. But that's sometimes people forget. The point is to create a great product or service. And then if you're just one person, it's hard to do that. You need often more than one person. So it's not about growing a business for the sake of growing a business. You have to say, like, what is this important problem that you're trying to solve that really matters? And then go try to solve that. With respect to space, I think there's really just one problem. One problem primarily, which is a fully and rapidly reusable rocket, orbital rocket. This is the holy grail. At SpaceX, we've made some progress in this direction with the reuse of the booster and the fairing, but it's absolutely profound to have a reusable rocket, as it would be to have, as it is to have reusable transport in all other domains. Bicycles, aircraft, cars, horses are all reusable. So, if you look at the cost comparison, something like a Pilatus PC-12 single-engine turboprop has a payload of about 1 ton and costs $5 million. A 747 has a payload of over 100 tons, and you can lease it for a flight from San Francisco to Sydney and back for $500,000. So that is a 1,000-fold difference in cost per ton of transport. And actually, the Pilatus can't reach Australia, so we wouldn't even get there. So what I'm trying to say is like a small, a giant reusable craft, it costs much less than a small expendable craft. It stands to reason if you just need to refuel something, it's a heck of a lot easier than building the whole vehicle. So, you know, when I say like there's like a lot of rocket startups, and I think this is one thing they have to solve: reusability. That's it. You know, for our Starship program, which is obviously pretty ambitious, the cost of fuel and oxygen, and it's hydrogen pressurized, it doesn't use helium, which is very expensive, is about $900,000 per flight. So if the thing is fully reusable, it's about $900,000 per pound per flight for something with around 150 tons to at least 100 tons, probably over time 150 tons global capability. And even if you consider other operational costs, maybe it'll be like $2 million a flight, or marginal cost of flight. So this is much less than even a tiny rocket. And so it's the thing that needs to be made. But a small reusable rocket would still be useful. But you know, just a small, like it's not like there are only 747s. There are a lot of aircraft of all sizes, but they're all reusable. And if you start an aircraft company where hey, we're a single-use aircraft company, yes, people would say, well, that's pretty funny. And you know, the plus side is that you know, you take off with no landing gear, and and you run until your tanks are dry, so you have extra range. Great. And then you drop the cargo out with a parachute, and the plane crashes. And that's how rockets work. It's crazy. This is very, very important.
Well, Elon, on behalf of Secretary Barrett, Dr. Roper, and myself, and the entire Air Force Acquisition team, thank you for joining us here today. Everybody, Elon Musk.
Thank you.